Hi, this is Javin Kharod, a chemical engineer by profession, going to continue our today's topic, fractional distillation column with example. Now, fractional distillation is the separation of a mixture into its component. Part of fraction, the chemical compound, are separated by heating them. The temperature at which one or more fraction of the mixture will vaporize, it uses distillation to fractionate. Advantage of the fractional distillation. It is easy to implement. It is highly effective and efficient. It comes with operational result. It helps produce much needed fuel. It can expensive. It can contribute environmental pollution. This is the draw. Fractional distillation with example. A common example, the fractional distillation in industry is the separation of various components of the crude oil. The crude oil normally contains substances such as paraffin, wax, gasoline, diesel, naphtha, lubricating oil, and kerosene. The distillation process helps to separate this component effectively. Now, fractional distillation. How we can use it? Very good questions. Fractional distillation is the process by which component, the chemical mixture, are separated into different parts called fraction. According to their mixture, they separated into different parts and their boiling point. Fractional distillation is used to purify chemical and to separate the mixture obtained from the component. What are steps in this fractional distillation process? The evaporation crude oil is the heated until evaporated crude oil. Vapor is put into fractionating column at the bottom and rises upward. Condensation. The temperature is highest at the bottom of the column. And third one, collection. The fraction are collected. How do you separate ethanol and water? A more common example. Fractional distillation is a method of separating liquid from a mixture, two or more liquid. Example, liquid ethanol can be separated from a mixture ethanol and water by fractional distillation. This method works because the liquid in the mixture have different boiling point. What are stages in distillation column? In each stage, the vapor phase is contacted with the liquid phase and mass is from vapor to liquid and from liquid to vapor. The less volatile, heavy or high boiling component concentrate in the liquid phase and the more volatile, light component concentration in the vapor. How the distillation performs? Means here it's industrial. Distillation process involves the conversion the liquid into vapor that is subsequently condensed back to liquid form. It is complicated to its simplest when the steam from kettle become deposit and drop of distilled water on the cold surface. Right? Okay, move forward. Now, how do you do distillation? Simple distillation work because dissolved solute and much boiling point lower than the solvent. When the solution is heated, the solvent vapor evaporates from the solution. The gas move away and is cooled and condensed. Now, what are two processes in fractional distillations? It is the overall process, the alcohol distillation can be summed up the three-part fermentation, distillation and finishing. This is the example. How crude oil separate into fraction by fractional distillation. The crude oil is separate by fractional distillation. Crude oil is heated to vaporize the different hydrocarbon in a tank which is cool at the top and the hot bottom. The vapor then rise and different hydrocarbon can condense at their specific boiling point, allowed at them to separate. Now, main fraction, the crude oil. The fraction, there are several ways to classify it. The fraction that are distilled from the crude oil, one general way is allowed into the category light, middle and heavy fraction. Heavier component condense higher temperature and they are removed the bottom column. Why does fractional distillation work with crude oil? The fractional distillation is used to separate crude oil into simpler, more useful mixture. This method can be used because different hydrocarbons have different boiling points. What is the most viscous fraction of the crude oil? Most important questions. The gasoline is less viscous than the kerosene, and kerosene is less viscous than the diesel. This means gasoline, kerosene, diesel oil is the correct order increasing viscosity for the three crude oil fractions. Now, why crude oil? Best substance for alkane. The alkane do not have double bond, so the bromine water stay smaller hydrocarbon make better fuel as they are easier to ignite. However, crude oil contain lot of longer chain hydrocarbon. To break a longer chain hydrocarbon, to break a long chain hydrocarbon down into smaller ones, we use process known as cracking. Now, what is crude oil form? Petroleum, also called crude oil, is fossil fuel like coal gas, natural gas, petroleum, formed from the remain marine organisms such as plant, algae, and bacteria. How the crude oil refined using fractional distillation. The petroleum can be separated into various types of fuel. The process called refining using fractional distillation. On industrial scale, the different fractions, the petroleum are separated out distillation. The petroleum is heated up and gas produced enter the fractionating column. Okay, move further. How do you fraction of crude oil separate the different temperature? Crude oil is separated into fraction by fractional distillation. The fractionate top, the fractionate column have lower boiling point than the fractionate bottom. All the fractions are proceed further in other refining unit. What is done to crude oil before it enters the fractionating column? The crude oil is evaporated inside a furnace before entering the fractionating column where the vapor condenses at different temperature. What is crude oil and petrochemical? A petrochemical is any chemical manufactured from the crude oil and natural gas, the distillate from the fuel and other products derived from the crude oil and natural gas use the variety of commercial purpose. Definition has been broad-ended to include the whole range of organic chemicals. Now, what is first product? The fractional distillation crude oil. Fractional distillation, the crude oil distilled product boiling between 30 and 200 degrees centigrade, known straight run gasoline. Means gasoline is the first product of the fractional distillation crude oil. Why crude oil called crude oil? Important questions. We are crude oil and petroleum fossil fuel because they are mixture the hydrocarbon that are formed from the remain animal and plant that lived billion of years ago in marine environment before existence of the dinosaurs. What is the naphtha fraction of the crude oil used for? The main uses the petroleum naphtha fall into general area, the precursor, the gasoline and other liquid fuel, the solvent dilute for paint, the dry cleaning solvent, solvent for cut back asphalt, solvent in rubber industries, and last one, solvent for industrial extraction process. How hydrocarbons separate from crude oil? The refining process separate molecules according to their boiling point. Hydrocarbons are formed together as thick black crude oil. The most efficient way to separate them into smaller fraction is by process called fractional distillation. How crude oil converted to various petrochemical products? First, part of crude oil is heat until boiling. The boiling liquid is separated into different liquid gasoline. In a distillation boiler, the liquid used to make petrol, paraffin, diesel, fuel, etc. Now, move further. What is downward distillation? Derived from Latin distiller, drink, downward distillation was already known adequately anti-quality for separation and purification liquid mixture. The practice involves boiling a liquid mixture containing any number of components, condense the resulting vapor by cooling and collecting the distillate. Why fractional distillation used? The fractional distillation is a process by which components in a chemical mixture are separated into different parts called fraction according to their different boiling point. Fractional distillation is used to purify chemical and separate mixture obtain their component. What is fractional distillation? Give its two importance. Fractional distillation is the separation mixture into its component part. The fractional chemical compound separate by heating them. Home temperature at one or more fraction of the mixture will vaporize. It uses distillation fraction. Its importance, it is used fuel in vehicle. What are steps in distillation? The basic step distillation that are such as add heat to liquid mixture with two or more main substances. For example, water and ethanol mixture. As the liquid heat component with lower boiling point will begin to vaporize and rise through cooling. What is condenser used in distillation process? The condenser, the cooling unit used in distillation process for cooling the vapor back to liquid droplet the condenser is heated. Hence, we can say that the main aim condenser is to cool the vapor, release heat to surrounding and collect the liquid back through the condensation process. Now, what is double distillation? To separate a mixture of liquid and liquid can be heated first component which have different boiling point into gas phase and gas is then condensed back into liquid form and collect repeating the process on collected liquid to improve purity of product is called double distillation. What is single distillation? The distillation or classical distillation is the process separating component or substance from liquid mixture using selective boiling and condensation. Dry distillation is the heating of liquid material to produce gaseous product which may condense into liquid or solid. What are property of fractional distillation? The fractional distillation is the separation mixture into component. The fraction such as separating chemical component by boiling point by heating them to temperature at which one or more fraction of its component vaporizes. Okay guys, this is straight 36 questions of the fractional distillation program. I hope you get sufficient knowledge after watching this video. Next topic, we cover some another topic of chemical engineering. Till then, goodbye. Wish you a very happy Sunday. Enjoy your Sunday. Do take good care of yourself.